Alright, here's a little video Liberal government has out about Pierre. Let's watch this and then talk about it a little bit.
The Conservative leader has been purposefully using his videos to appeal to far-right misogynistic online movements.
What seems to be driving a lot of this criticism? Radio ads it released in 2018, claiming to debunk myths about residential schools.
Earlier this week, 3 Conservative MPs posed for a picture with a highly controversial figure from Germany's far right. Colin Carey, Leslyn Lewis, and Dean Allison met Christine Anderson from the Alternative for Germany party.
I just want to begin by saying how frustrating it is to see that the Conservative Party, fully supported by Pierre Polivierre, is reopening the debate on abortion and going after a woman's right to choose.
This isn't actually the first time that the Conservative leader has taken a problematic photograph with people, and when politicians stand with people like this, what kind of message does it send?
Well, Conservative leader Pierre Polivierre has been hitting the summer barbecue circuit with rhetoric around debunked claims that the World Economic Forum is attempting to impose its agenda on sovereign governments.
Seems to be driving a lot of...
Okay, let's talk about this video here that's speaking about Pierre and some of his, as they call it, a year in review. Let's review some things he claimed. Alright, for one, all media in Canada is state-owned and run and paid for. Well, not fully, but it pays for 90% of their funding to stay open. And let's just say that they'll do what the Liberal government wants them to do or say just so that they get their yearly funding. The CBC gets $1 billion plus. I think
lot of this criticism, radio ads it
Rogers or Shaw or whatever they're called.
released in
They get 600 million or something like that. It's all in the millions anyway, hundreds of millions of dollars of funding from the taxpayer that go to these clowns to speak against the opposition party of Canada, being Pierre Polivierre. And, well, let's just say that they talk about Pierre in a negative fashion. The meeting with far-right people, I guess. They claim that no bodies have been found in any of the grave sites of these residential schools, but yet they still go on and say that they are, and there's still a movement in Canada about it. And then they made a claim about Pierre spreading false narratives about the WEF, and it came out of the horse's mouth, Klaus Schwab, that he was very proud of his young global leaders, and he named a few of them, including the Prime Minister of Canada, and he went on to say that over half of the Liberal cabinet was working for the WEF in implementing WEF policies. You can find it on the internet. You just have to look up Klaus Schwab and Justin Trudeau and his Liberal cabinet discussion. It's easy to find. You'll hear it for yourself out of the horse's mouth. The residential schools, to date, there hasn't been one single bone recovered from any of the residential schools. Then he goes on to talk about Christine Anderson, and she's far right, and she's with the party that is for Germany. In other words, the party for the people of Germany. And that's far right because she wants to put the people of Germany before the interests of the WEF, which Klaus Schwab said that their leader was a young global leader, and she was one of his favorites, just like Justin Trudeau. And then let's talk about how Pierre stands with these far-right, misogynist, white Canadians that are promoting far-right ideologies. In other words, that they want to be KKK or something like that, which is all misinformation and disinformation, as the Prime Minister likes to call it. Then let's talk about the scandals. I'll just name a couple. The SDTC scandal, where liberal insiders are enriching liberal insiders with funding from the SDTC Green Slush $1 billion fund. One MP was caught. Now, she was a standing member of who decides who gets what money, and she was a member of their committee. And she awarded her company, her own personal company, 3 different contracts, all total, if you added them up, it was less than $100 million. But let's just award our own companies. Like the ethics commissioner said, there's 180 something conflicts of interest just with the SDTC Green Slush Fund. Stephen Guilbeault, one of Trudeau's ministers or MPs, and his company was awarded over $200 million. And well, it's not his company, but he has a lot of shares in this company, which is a conflict of interest. And they got over $200 million. And well, to date, the conservatives say it's close to $400 million worth of liberal insider enriching themselves. Forget where I was at there with my spew. But yeah, oh, the scandals. Yeah, the orange shirt movement was created from these scandals, or I mean, these false claims, this misinformation over the residential schools of mass graves of indigenous people. And speaking of indigenous people, we have a liberal MP that is let's say shadier than the shade black. The Liberal Party. Oh, I got all train of thought lost there for a second. Caught numerous scandals. The wee charity scandal where he tried to give his mother $10 million. The SNC Lavla where he fired his indigenous district attorney because she wouldn't bend her knees to what he wanted have done there. What else was this? He's been allegedly caught with a minor. Allegedly, he paid out of pocket to keep it out of the courts, to keep it out of the papers. He was there's just so much. I don't even know. He called a snap election on 2021 to hide the Winnipeg lab scandal where he had two Chinese scientists shipping highly infectious diseases to China that I'm sure they plan to use on the population in the future in some other pandemic. Back to Pierre. Yeah. He stole Pierre's idea about freeing up federal lands for for building houses. He goes on that 9 out of 10 families are getting more back than they spend in the carbon tax through the rebates. What government in reality taxes this population to ruin? Because we now have 2 million people going to food banks in Canada on a monthly basis to get food because they can't afford the groceries that are doubled in prices. Like some things I've seen that were $5 are now $10. Like a gallon of milk right now is $8, I think, at Walmart. Chocolate milk, a gallon is $10 at Walmart. Like, but what type of government in reality takes taxes and say they give more back than they're taking? 9 out of 10 families are better off because of taxes we pay. That's a horse crap because the tax is taxed with HST or GST, depending on which province you live in. Yeah, make it make sense. We tax you, and we give you back more than you pay. Like, that's a load of crap. They pay for studies of the effects of Peruvian rock bands on the world culture, and another study was $400 million for 5,000 Congolese on gender. I don't even know the words they used in their thing, but it's all just money laundering. We gave billions of dollars to Ukraine. And Ukraine is the child trafficking, human trafficking. I don't even know if you can use these words, but I'm using them. I might get cited on some of my videos over this. Yeah, there's more than just that. The Prime Minister, he started off as he had $10 million. Now Forbes claimed back in June or May that Trudeau was worth over $400 million on a $400,000 a year salary. 10 years, that's $4 million, is it? 400,000 a year for 10 years, that would be 4 million. And he's worth 400 million, 10 times the amount that he would have earned in the 10 years. So I don't know where these people get their thinking from. And then they want to cap the oil and gas that our country relies on. It's 90% of our economy is the oil and gas sector. He ships in oil from Saudi Arabia because his family owns shares in the Irving refinery in New Brunswick, so that's why he won't put a pipeline across from the western provinces to the eastern provinces to get that oil refined in New Brunswick, because his family owns shares in that refinery. There's a bunch more. That's just scratching the surface. Some of his ministers were, well, every one of his so-called supporting ministers, they were all groomsmen in his wedding with Sophie. And yeah, if you go back and just watch some of his interviews that he's done, he's just so narcissistic. He blames everybody else for his mistakes. He blames, like I say, everybody else for his mistakes. I've never seen, in my many years on this earth, anybody hated so much as a politician and so narcissistic as a politician as the Canadian Prime Minister today in 2024. I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash. They might come after me financially, freeze my bank accounts because I'm advocating for the conservatives. I don't know today in Canada. We get the online arms bill that takes our charter rights away, the charter freedom of expression. We don't have the freedom of expression no more in Canada. I don't know. But if you're voting Liberal or NDP today, you've been fooled. You've been fooled so hard into thinking that they're working for you when really they're just working for themselves and seeing how much money they can launder into their own bank accounts because they know this is their last couple of months. Maybe if they last till October next year for the real election date, then I doubt it. But we'll have to wait and see what the next few months entail. They have Parliament frozen now for the past 6 weeks because they won't release unredacted documents to the RCMP because they know there's criminal activity in them documents. And they know that they will be held accountable, whether through the election, because they're already losing in the polls. They're polling at 20%. The Conservatives are polling at 50%. Well, it's 48%, but we'll say at 50%. The Bloc and the NDP are neck and neck there, so the next opposition party will probably be the Bloc or the NDP. If you're still voting for either one of them parties, the Liberals or the NDP, then I'm just making the claim today that you've been duped by disinformation from the Liberal Party and the state-run media, and that if you have an opportunity to get your news and media from some other sources, i.e. Rebel News or True North or one of my favorites now is Moose on the Loose. David does a real good on reporting things. Then you have Northern Perspective. They're done a real good job on reporting things. Pretty much showing the true colors of the Liberal Party. And then there's the Canadian Loonie, the Canadian Shield, Canada Info. That's just to name a few of the other sources of media that you could check out. Guys like me that post random stuff here and there, but I'm sure I'm flagged somewhere. Maybe CSIS has me flagged as a, I don't know. I know I'm probably being watched by the Liberal Party. My bank account will probably be frozen next week. I'll keep you up to date if that happens. But anyway, God bless. Let's take back this country. Make Canada what it used to be a little bit. The sooner we can have an election, the sooner everybody in Canada's lives will be better. I can guarantee you that. Don't be fooled. No government takes money from its citizens and gives back more than what they take. Like, God. The liberals, they're socialist. And they're a socialist party with socialist agenda. And they're pushing the WEF policies where we'll rent everything and own nothing and be miserable, not happy, miserable. Mark my words, you will not be happy. You'll be miserable. And if you happen to have 250,000 in your bank, go make a deposit at the bank and get your mortgage started. Because yeah, that's what it takes in today's Canada to get a mortgage. A $250,000 deposit. Lucky for me, I got my house in 2014 before these crooks got into power. They've been just filling their pockets and bank accounts and offshore accounts and scams. And look, even Costa Rica called out the Prime Minister saying, we don't want your dirty money in our country. You can own a house here, but take your dirty. Look, even Gemini's listening. Google, we got your back. Anyway, I hope you enjoy my spew. And vote for the Conservatives, because hopefully that's pretty much our best chance of getting back to normalcy here in Canada. God bless. Talk to you soon. Have a great day, folks.